Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem, your host. We hope everybody is having a great week. We are so excited that each and every week, you, the listener, are making this show even more special. And it's because we are committed to your success and your level of influence. We always listen to our listeners to make sure that we're bringing in subject matter experts, sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate your level of influence and business to the next level. And we want to thank you personally each and every week to all of you that make this show possible. We hope that you're taking advantage also of the other shows here on the Touch of Life TALRadio platform. Just a lot of great content. And again, very useful information to help move you to wherever you're looking to go, both personally and professionally in life and business. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to alumni looking to take the next level of conversation to the level you choose. Now, this is not this is a paid membership program, meaning that it takes all the noise out of social media. No more of those noisy notifications. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people that you choose to relate to. And it's not limited to the school you went to. It could be for sororities. It could be for fraternities. It could be for also professional athletes that want to now commiserate with other athletes that are transitioning from the professional sport into everyday life. If you'd like more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you today. I love this topic, and I'm sure you're going to love it as well. And it's going to be based on a book coming out, new book and the title is called From Doubt to Do, Navigating Your Pathway to Possibility. And we are here with O Sullivan, and she believes when shift happens, it's time to make magic happen. She's an author, speaker, consultant, and coach. And for over 25 years, she has helped individuals and organizations discover new possibilities, even if it feels impossible. She has worked across sectors, corporate, nonprofit, education, and privately owned businesses, providing a roadmap, tools, and support to bring those new possibilities to life. O Sullivan's life has had an unusual beginning. Being born in a secret city and the resulting secrecy factor in her early life made it challenging to show up authentically until at age 16, she convinced Bob Hope, yes, Bob Hope, to sponsor her travels with Up With People. It was the catalyst to becoming a lifelong changemaker. In the middle of the global pandemic, she and her husband packed up their lives and moved from Los Angeles to Mexico. Kat continued to share her inspiring message as an author and speaker, and her new book, which we're going to give you information here later in the show, From Doubt to Do, Navigating Your Pathway to Possibility, is for anyone facing significant transition who has doubts about what else is possible in the next chapter of their life. It's for everyone who wants to dream big and live boldly to create a fulfilling life they will love. Kat's free assessment also allows you to do a lot of things, which you're also going to find out more about that assessment for readiness for significant transition. And she'll be giving you a link to that as a free giveaway here later in the show. And without further ado, we welcome O Sullivan to the show. Kat, how you doing today?
I am doing great, Chris. Thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
We are so excited to have you here. And I know with the new book, you got coming out, it's so much great things. I can't wait to read it myself here. From Doubt to Do, Navigating Your Pathway to Possibility. Share with us a little insights, about that. And before you do though, I'd love to find out more about, the Bob Hope story. And, you've known, that you've been doing the seemingly impossible over and over again. And share, can you share what is possible, what you learned from that Bob Hope story? I think when I mentioned that in your bio, I think a lot of people are probably asking, what was that? And what inspired you to be a change maker?
Yeah, I mean, it really is an amazing story. And it really started, who knew that going to a performance at age 14 could change my life? But it did. I was invited to go to an Up With People performance, and I was so enthralled that it became like a dream like someday I'm going to travel with people. But I was 14 and, they were college age kids and da 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 da. But 2 years later, they decided to start a high school cast of 100 kids from around the world, juniors and seniors, to travel the world and perform, etc. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. And everybody said, that's impossible. There's no way. And I'm like, there's always a way. So anyway, I did. I picked up the phone, called NBC Studios. Long story, but I'll just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
I got a hold of Bob Hope. I shared that, hey, Bob, we met briefly the last year when he did NBC special with Up With People. And I don't know if you remember me, but, and I shared the opportunity, and the only thing holding me back was the money to pay for it. And I mean, he just said, I'll support you, wrote out a check, covered my year's travel. And I used to refer to that as my Bob Hope strategy.
I love that. I mean, that's amazing. What did you feel like when you heard that? Yeah, I'll support you. You were like, going, what?
I still have goosebumps. I mean, it was one of those moments that you just will never, ever forget.
Wow.
And, it was a transformational experience. I spent 2 years on the road, 16 and 17 years old. And, it was just an amazing experience. And, that Bob's Hope strategy, I've subsequently renamed it my Hell Yes strategy, which is basically, bottom line, asking for what you want and believing that the other person is going to say yes.
Mhm.
It has paid off over and over and over again to do things that I never imagined I could do. And the most recent was a decision in the middle of a global pandemic to move from
Yeah, I
Los
want to hear about that. You
Angeles.
moved from Los Angeles to Guadalajara.
Yep.
I mean, that's like, and not knowing, like, I mean, I have an inside scoop to this, but I'm going to let you share.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. When the pandemic hit and everything went sideways, I was whining just like my clients, nothing else is working, and there was a moment when I was just like, well, maybe this is happening for a reason. Don't know what it is, but maybe it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And then my husband waltzed into my office in my pit of despair, asking me if I wanted anything, and he meant coffee, of course. But the first thought I had was, I want a new life. Now,
Yeah.
that is a bit dramatic, but it was exactly where I was at. I was just totally burned out, wanted a new life, wanted to make a significant shift in what I was doing. But of course, living in Los Angeles and being dependent on my income, I was like, initially it was like, that's impossible. There's no way I can make a significant shift living in Los Angeles. But then I asked one of two all important questions. One was, what if it is possible? And the other is, what am I not seeing? Those two questions, with every challenge before me, has always borne fruit. And it was no different here. The next day, I see this article about a woman who moved to Mexico on her fixed income. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe it is possible. So, I researched and finally came up with, we're going to move to Lake Chapala, which is about an hour from Guadalajara. And of course, my husband was like, he heard his four dreaded words, I have an idea. Thankfully, he's always supportive of my
He
crazy
trusted the
ideas.
process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, despite the fact we had never been there, we committed to move to Mexico. And 3 months after we made that commitment, we had sold our house, our cars, our boat, our furniture, everything. And we got on a flight with our golden retriever to Guadalajara. And people were like, are you crazy? And it probably was. It probably seemed like a crazy idea, especially since, we hadn't been there before. But it has been the best thing that ever happened to us.
That's
And
fabulous.
everything that I had wanted in that shift, as in, I want to finally be able to write my book. I want to figure out how to have a greater impact. And, less than 3 years later, I've published my book. I am on Voice America's Empowerment Channel with a global impact and other things, And I finally got to the point where, like, okay, I've gotten over that burnout. I've done the immediate things I decided to do. So now I'm also focusing on how I can, kind of go back to doing some highly selective coaching and have more of a one-on-one impact with people. But I will say that the how-to, because how do you do that in 3 months, right? If you could have seen our living room, we had this humongous board with a daily a calendar, 3-month calendar, every day what we needed to do. And that's how we went from doubt to do. But there were also some things that, based on all of my other experiences, were really helpful. And I now call it my Make Magic Happen 5 C's framework. And when I say magic, I don't mean like hocus pocus. I mean like the magic that happens when you employ that hell yes strategy to make something that you really want happen, something that
Yeah.
you're passionate about. So, yeah. So if you're interested, I'll share a
Yes,
little
please
bit.
do. We love to hear that. And I also want to get, when after that, I'd love to hear your perspective on why you use the word shift instead of change as well.
Oh, well, let's start there because that's really important. So I don't know about you and your listeners, but what happens when you hear the word change? It's like, right?
I lock up people. I think it's like they get defensive. Like, oh, I don't, they get, it's the fear that reptilian part of the brain, like, gets
Yeah.
freezes
I
up.
mean, we've all been taught, that change happens and, we just need to go fluid and yeah, but it always gets a negative response. So instead of the word change, I use the word shift because a shift suggests more of a gradual evolutionary movement from one thing to the other. There's no like right or wrong, because usually with change, it's like something or somebody is wrong or broken and needs to be fixed, which is why people, resist.
Yeah.
But the word shift is a little more gentle and it flows more easily than the word change. So yeah, I use the word shift in everything that I do. Um, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
It
So
makes sense. And to me, when I hear that word shift, it's like you said, it's gradual. It's a process. Like, when people think of change, they think, "Oh my God, I got to change. I got to do this overnight," and that's not
yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's overwhelming and it just results in a lot of times being immobilized for
Mm,
that very reason. Yeah.
yeah.
So the first thing in the 5 C's is courage. And it's all about having the courage to shift your mindset from it's impossible to it's possible and opening the door to some new possibilities that you couldn't imagine before. And once you have that courage, that shift in mindset, and those two important questions, like what if it is possible, what I'm not seeing, then it's all about clarity because we need to get clear. I mean, crystal clear about what we want that to look like. Because I don't know about you, especially in business, but in life in general, I find that I always think I'm crystal clear. And often you never find out if you're really clear until you see what happens. And then it's like, oh, wait, maybe I wasn't as clear as I thought I was. So it's not only clarity around what you want and what you want that to look like, but why is it so important?
Mm,
And that is critical because unless you have both the what and the why nailed, the first time something happens along the way, that you didn't expect, it's easy to back down,
mm,
you know? So that why leads to the third C, which is commitment, as in a hell yes commitment to making it happen no matter what. And then it's really about how do you develop the capacity to make it happen? What's the knowledge? What's the skills? What's the tools? What's the what do you actually need to equip yourself, which requires a learner's mindset. Like what else? What do I need to learn? And sometimes what do I need to unlearn in order to make it happen?
yeah.
And then, the last thing is choice. And I don't say that lightly because at every step, actually, we have a choice. We're always at choice. Whatever happens throughout those stages, what do we need to, what choice, what decision do I need to make? And do I have a good filter for determining if I should or I shouldn't do X or Y? Um, yeah. So those 5 C's have served me well personally and especially professionally, as I've worked with different leadership teams to make sure that they have those 5 C's nailed in
Yeah.
terms of how to bring their vision for whatever is next, especially when they're going through a significant shift where they're trying to do something fundamentally different in response to all the changes in the marketplace, which are endless, right?
Yeah, there's so many things like what you said, like, situations and even other people that are going to be beyond your control. So the only thing you can control is you. Really, when it comes down to it, is what you do.
It can be a scary thought or an empowering thought. I choose to make it empowering.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
will say, though, that especially in a business environment, one of the things that often gets in the way is ironically people's success or a business's success. Because it's hard to make a shift when what you're doing has been so successful. And there's all those doubts about, what can I really do something different? Or can our business take a different direction or whatnot? So that requires being willing to let go of what you've been doing and give yourself permission to pursue something new.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, giving yourself permission, knowing that nobody has to approve it. You get to decide. It's like I know some people have been conditioned, like what are other people going to think? Like if
Oh,
just like when you and your husband went to Mexico, somebody could say, well, "Are you crazy? Why would you do that?" It was like when I went to go ask my wife to marry me, who lived in Venezuela. I said, "Are you nuts? She's from
yeah.
Venezuela. You may not even come home. They might kidnap you. Are you crazy?" And here I am, 8 years, the happiest man I can be, in the best relationship I ever had.
Yeah, we definitely had all of those. Are you crazy? That's crazy. Why the bleep would you do that? I mean, we had the full court press of, you know, and of course, all of those things were based on fear and assumptions
Yeah,
and
there
the
you go.
media,
Oh yeah.
because, moving to Mexico, we've had to challenge so many assumptions that we had about
Well, when you think
Mexico.
of Mexico, people think, oh, it's like Tijuana. No, there's parts of Mexico that are beautiful. I mean, it
Well, and I have to say, even Tijuana, We recently went for our 30th anniversary, went to Baja for a
Yeah.
wine tour, and we went through Tijuana, and I hadn't been there in probably 30 years. And, I remember this little border town, and now it's like this mega, you know, a,
Oh yeah.
you know, very different than what I
Oh
would have
yeah.
thought, right? But I mean, we've been here almost 3 years. We've seen no violence where we live. Um, and the people couldn't be more warm, friendly, inviting, welcoming, supportive. I mean, I have so many stories of times when we needed a little help and we didn't even have to ask. People just saw what was going on, whether it's the battery in the car died or whatever. And immediately there's these guys, how can I help? It's just,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's and just like I said, we're that part of the Mexico. You're 5,000 feet up. You got the biggest lake in in Mexico or even Central America, and it's just unbelievable. Like where you are, and like you said, you got other people from not just Mexico, but other parts of the country, even the United States, and I'm sure
yep.
Canada and probably other parts as well.
Oh, yeah. The expats are largely, you know, yes, US, northern parts of US often, and of course, Canada because of the weather,
Yeah. Yep.
you know.
Yep.
So
Wow.
it's
That
been
is
quite
wonderful.
the adventure and it continues.
Well, I love this. Now, what I wanted to do for the, if I'd love to, ask two questions in the time we have. Any suggestions you would make for people to make that shift in their mindset towards, turning, a doubt into do? And then I also want to, let people know again about the book. I really want to make sure that people get their hands on your book that could really benefit from what you've shared today here with us.
Yeah, there's lots of stories in that book, including the I was born in a secret city and the Bob Hope and moved to Mexico, and then so many things in between, that led up to this latest move. So, yeah, I think people will find it helpful. And it also includes a journal so that they can actually work through what we talked about on their own. But I think the biggest thing is always mindset and challenging your assumptions. So it's like create a list of all your assumptions, all your limiting beliefs, and challenge them. Like, what if that's not true? What else could be true? And sometimes it's hard to do that ourselves. So I
Mm,
also recommend if you're struggling with that, get some trusted friends together and say, hey, what do you think about this? Get their perspective, not to ask their permission, but to just get a broader perspective on whatever the issue is.
wow. I love that in assumptions because that's when you think about our own assumptions and the assumptions of others, they're real. That well, they're not real, but they people think they're real. And these are the things that we communicate from, and that's why we experience problems and escalate these challenges instead of seeing the challenge as something happening for us, not to us.
Right.
And I love the fact that you mentioned. I think that's really cool when you can now say that don't look at it from as assumptions. Look at it, like look at it as for what it is, and just do it. Do what your heart tells you, and
Yeah. I
and
often I often ask people, and I'll ask your listeners, so what if impossible is just a story you're telling yourself?
mhm, yeah,
What
absolutely,
if it's not true?
yeah.
What else is possible?
Exactly. All
It
you
makes
got to
all the
do is
difference.
remove those first two words or two letters, excuse me, not words, letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This is great, great, great stuff. What you shared here. Can you give a little more information here for the listeners? First of all, I want to thank you for being here. You've just shared so much great information, and we value your time, being here from, calling in from Mexico. Where talk a little bit about when people can get their hands on the book. I know there's a a source that you like, that really can provide far better value in getting the book in people's hands.
Yeah.
And number two, like where people can also get in contact with you to dig a little deeper into this particular
Yeah.
area.
The best way to get my book is to go to my website, which is catosullivan.com, and that's cat with a K. And there's a book page on the website. Just click on that, and there's a link. You can find out more about the book and see what people think about the book, which is very heartwarming for me. And then there's a link to be able to buy the book, either the paperback or um, the Kindle version or whatever ebook. So I would encourage people to, go to my website, click on books, and take a look and see what you think. And if it sounds like something that you could benefit from, buy the book.
Well, we highly encourage everybody to check out Kat's website. Get your hands on the book. Get a copy of that. The book itself. I mean, putting a book in your hands is a good feeling. Especially on a day when you just want to relax and just I'm sure with her stories that she shared about the Bob Hope story, her move to Guadalajara, Mexico, amongst probably other stories that she did not get a chance to share here, will hopefully resonate with some of the things that are maybe have happened in your life or happening right now that can resonate for you to turn doubt into do. So wonderful information. Kat, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We greatly appreciate you and everything that you're doing. And we look forward to having you back on a future show here with Business Influencers.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. This has been a wonderful experience, and I hope your listeners, got some nugget out of it that will make a difference in their life and their business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to taking your level of influence, business, and personal success to the next level. Again, if there is any content that we have not shared here before that you feel would be worth listening to, feel free to reach out to us at chris@christophersalem.com. That's chris@christophersalem.com. We are here for you. Till then, everybody, we want to wish you a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.